Okay, so hi. This time we have Ramesh Wilson with us, a fellow music scholar and also a member on the Music Society Committee, the Queen Mary Music Society Committee. And we work very close together as president and vice president. So I guess just tell us a bit about your time at Queen Mary, kind of what are you studying? How did you maybe get into the Music Society at first?
I'm in my final year of BSc in biology, and I'm mainly going down eco-evolutionary side and conservation themes. So I knew when I came to university in general, I wanted to participate in music. It's just been such a heavy part of my life since I was 12, I would say. So during the society's get together, I first met Alex, actually. She was a year above me, and she was the social secretary that year. And there was a big meetup in one of our main halls, and she was just really welcoming, and I got to meet a lot of new people here now. I consider some of my closest friends and some of the people I play with the most. And it all just sparked from there, really. I think I kept up with music because everyone was so welcoming at QM.
You said you started music when you were about 12, right? So how exactly did that begin and how did it kind of just keep building up until where you are now?
I did start comparatively later than most, certainly later than you. So I began the piano when I was almost 12, I would say. It was a couple of months before that. And it was just because my sister played the piano already and I saw it in the house and I was like, I wanna give it a go. And then shortly after that, I turned 12 and I started violin as well, again, because my sister already played it. Um, and this was all before I was about to go into secondary school. So my sister, who's 4 years older than me, had done concerts in that school already, and I went to go see them. And I wanted to do orchestra and I wanted to do those groups, so it all went from there. Then I got into lessons, thankfully, which were obviously paramount to my development. And this music school which I attended made it compulsory to do Saturday orchestra and ensembles and things like that. And I would go right after my 5 a.m. swim training. Um, and then I think that was the most important thing to my development, that alongside just wanting to be better at music. I was lucky in that I got through lessons quite easily. I went through the grades quite quickly because I played multiple instruments, so it made learning each one a bit easier. And I have good pitch awareness, and I had a sister who was also musical. So it all worked together. And since then, I've been really lucky with the things I've gotten to do. I've done some amazing groups with orchestra. I've done National Youth Orchestra of Ireland and the UK, and the Welsh one as a guest as well. That was incredible. And just last year, I got to co-lead the University of London Symphony Orchestra as well. And through QM, I got to play with the London Chamber Orchestra. So I've just been in the right place in the right time a lot. And I'm really thankful that I've been able to do that.
That was a lot of experiences. So out of all of those, which would you say is the most memorable one?
I have two for different reasons. So I do choir a lot. Well, I used to do choir a lot, not as much at university, sadly. I just don't have the time. But I think my best experience ever was singing a solo at Carnegie Hall. And this was under Howard Goodall, an amazing composer. And I was selected as the youth member from Ireland to sing as part of this massive collective ensemble in 2016, in November 2016. I was to perform his Eternal Light Requiem, and he wanted youth involvement, so he picked me to do the solo from the fifth movement, this Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep. And I'd only been in choir for like 2 years at that point, so it was an experience that went over my head because I didn't realize how cool it was. And looking back at it, I can say I did a solo at Carnegie Hall, and that's so cool. And then orchestrally, for a different reason, in 2018, with the Ulster Youth Orchestra, we went to Vienna and we got to play in the town square, and it was a really cool experience, but it's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life. I was dead at the front, and we were we were playing an American in Paris, and we were getting to the end, and I took my eye off the ball for 1 second, and my bow just flung out of my hand into the front row. And the mentor for the orchestra luckily was in the front row and just threw the bow back really quickly before we got to the big break at the end of American in Paris. And
What?
yeah, it was A memorable experience, definitely.
Action-packed.
Yeah.
Quite an active piece of music, so it fits right in.
Exactly.
Well, with all that, how do you know how you plan to continue music in the
Mm,
future? Like, I know we've done so much chamber music together.
mm. Yeah, so you know as well. So my hope in the future is to go into bioscience research, go into academia. So that may be a bit restrictive in terms of how much music engagement I'm able to do. But there's always going to be local ensembles and groups, and wherever I'm going to end up, I really want to do those because from 12 until now, I know how much I enjoy them and how important they've been to my development. And I'm never going to stop playing, whether it's on my own or in a collective. But if I was to get lessons in the future, that'd be great. As much as I love music, getting lessons allows me to play the harder pieces that I want to play. I can't just whip out Sibelius and call it a day. I need to get technical. But
That's the dream. That's the
honestly, yeah,
absolute dream.
I just want to whip out the third movement. But in my future, no,
Just can't
I
keep
probably won't be doing as many concerts. I won't have the opportunities, but I'll go to the concerts. I want to sit in them and I want to experience more music in general. Yeah.
Well, kind of going back to university-based topics now.
Hmm.
So you mentioned you do want to go into academia. I know you've applied for lots of different unis that are very academically strong, but also very musically
Yeah.
strong and have quite, a good background in music. In the end, how do you feel kind of like your experience at Queen Mary as compared to this? I know I personally was quite, I think, pleasantly surprised with the amount of music I got to do in my kind of
Yeah.
4 years here now.
I,
But
I
yeah,
think
how do you feel about it?
I think pleasantly surprised is the perfect phrase for it. So as well, I never intended to come to Queen Mary per se. I never intended to go to university. On results day, I wasn't sure I was going to university, and then it ended up that I got the grades. So it was completely random. Um, so I came to Queen Mary with no expectation for music, and I was honestly blown away by how well it facilitates it for a university without any sort of academic musical department. There's no
Yeah.
degree here, and yet I've been able to play with the LCO. It's been amazing, and being here, I am so sure that I made the right choice, and I say that because coming to Queen Mary is it's an incredibly diverse university, and I've never felt singled out because it is so integrated and international and so multifaceted that I knew that I had a place here. And then on top of that, obviously there's a scientific rigor which fits my future end goals. And the musical side of it, meeting people like you and other people in the society, we all have such a similar mindset in that we come from very
Yeah.
diverse
Yeah.
backgrounds, and we're still attaining high levels of academic achievement, and yet we're still maintaining as well such a high level of musical capability. And Queen Mary has just completely facilitated that. I don't think I would be as much of an engaged musician right now if I hadn't gone to Queen Mary, and it's because of all the opportunities it has.
I'd say it's also interesting to be in the committee for the Music Society as well. It's
Yeah,
such a different aspect. It's a different angle to view kind of music making from
yeah,
when you're actually organizing all these events and rehearsals and whatnot,
yeah,
compared to just turning up every week and playing.
yeah. But I love it though because we've been really committed to trying to keep some sort of musicality going right now. It's been very difficult,
Mhm.
and it's not the same as playing as part of an ensemble, but we're trying to keep it as a collective. And being part of a musical ensemble transcends just playing music together. It's building friendships, and I've loved that.
I think talking to a few kind of freshers this year as well, they really appreciate that just kind of once a week, just coming along and just chatting to people.
It's lovely to see that people actually value doing music for all sorts of different reasons. Some people want the friendships, some people want to learn a new piece, some people want to get better, some people want all three. It's lovely to see.
And now, I think you're going to introduce three pieces of music to
Yeah.
share with us. So, what would they be?
Yes. So my first one isn't actually full performance per se, so I don't think you'll be surprised by this, Alex. But recently, Hilary Hahn, one of the world's best violinists, and she has just started a series called Han Solos, which I didn't actually know was a Star Wars pun until my sister pointed it out. But she's playing an entire concerto completely unaccompanied, so it's completely on her own. And
Yeah.
she did the Sibelius concerto recently, which is one of the most technically demanding and my personal favorite concerto ever. So hearing the concerto just in complete silence, and you can anticipate the ensemble, but it never comes. It just allows you to understand what Sibelius is going for the soloist line without considering the underlying harmonic structures and everything. It's such a different experience, and I really cannot recommend watching that enough. Next one, I don't think I've ever met anyone who knows this one actually. So it's a symphonic poem called The Children of Lear, and it's by an Irish composer called Hamilton Hardy. So it's amazing. I played it with the Ulster Youth Orchestra in 2018. And so far, the only existing recording of it is by the Ulster Orchestra and the Ulster Youth Orchestra. And it's one of my favorite pieces ever, because it paints such like a vivid picture of the poem that it's replicating through lots of different motifs, and really wind chimes as well, and so many different techniques. There's a lot of soltasto playing as well, just different mechanisms of using the instruments, and it's amazing. Honestly, I cannot recommend that enough. Then the last one, Alex, I don't think you'll be surprised either. We have Symphonia Antarctica by John Williams, and there's no other way to say it. I love this piece because Antarctic research is something that I aspire to do in the future. I want to do Antarctic ecology, and it's a really special piece to me because it reflects my future goal in such an artistic and nuanced way, and you can feel the music immerse you in the sense of emptiness and cold and bitterness, and it uses an actual songbird recording as well that's layered on top of the music. It's such an amazing piece of music, yeah.
That I think is really just the culmination of all your interests.
Exactly, yeah.
In one
it's
amazing
such a special piece to me because
it's
like music check, ecology check.
Well, it's been really lovely talking to you. Thank you for having a little chat.
Thank you for interviewing me. And I will probably make a playlist of those 3 pieces as well if you want to give them a listen.